Well, this is the last time I let Twitter decide for me. Out of 9 votes, 55% of you wanted me to review the double album. The double. It's my own damn fault. My own damn fault. I put it as an option on Twitter to begin with. This is my own damn fault. I should have expected Twitter wants me to suffer. Welcome to the Metal Robot Reviews channel. I'm your host, Tom McKay. Before we even introduce the band and the album we'll be talking about today, we first need to discuss the epic poem by Dante Alighieri, The Divine Comedy. The Divine Comedy is a 3-part, very long poem about Dante's journey through the afterlife. It's a very well-known poem, probably one of the most renowned works in Western or even world literature. Now, the reason I bring this up is because some dude decided, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put the Divine Comedy to metal music. This dude is Oscar Grace, by the way, and he formed the band Signum Draconis to release this massive project, and it's going to be a large one. There's Dante's Inferno, which we'll be talking about today, Dante's Purgatorio, and finally Dante's Paradiso. All of which are very long stories. So much so, you can't really condense all 3 into a single album, or even just 2. And it's a good thing he didn't do it like that either. Doing so would actually hurt the adaptation more than anything else. This isn't Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings here, so it's going to have to be a trilogy of albums.
But even then,
condensing each part into a 40-minute or even an hour-long album wouldn't be enough here. You might miss a couple of things. So that means, at least for this part, we're looking at a double album. Yes, you heard that right. For the adaptation of Dante's Inferno, we're tackling 17 tracks, about 96 minutes of music. Oh, fuck me in the third circle. This is gonna be a rough one for me. Oh. First of all, double albums are very hard to get right. If the band isn't careful, the double album can feel bloated. This is a risk even the great ones can have a problem with, and the really bad ones can take years off your life for. It's been scientifically proven, in fact, that Lulu can put you in a coma. And, this is about to get a bit complicated for me because I actually haven't read any of the Divine Comedy. Yeah, and I'm about to really show my lack of pop culture knowledge here. You see, I've heard of Dante's Inferno, I knew of it, I knew it existed, I knew about the 9 Circles of Hell concept, but I had no clue about any of the details. I didn't know there were 2 other books. I didn't even know it wasn't explicitly called Dante's Inferno or just Inferno. Technically, that's its name, sure. I mean, if you say Dante's Inferno, people know what you're talking about. But as mentioned, it's part of the wider Divine Comedy storyline. I think you know where this is going. This is so embarrassing. I'm such a pleb. When I saw this album in my promo list, I saw Divine Comedy and thought this was gonna be a comedy album. No joke, on my first listen to, I still had no clue. I got to maybe about where the third circle was being talked about before I was like,
this isn't funny. I'm not laughing. Am I supposed to be laughing here? What's going on?
And then I looked into the promo's description and bio and I was like, oh! So, by this point, I still haven't read it, but to make sure I'm not a pleb for this review, I made sure to take notes off of Wikipedia, as well as notes from other summaries that you can find online, on YouTube, and blog posts, you know, by people who actually fucking read it. And with those notes, I'll be asking the following questions going into this album. How faithful of an adaptation is Signum Draconis' Inferno? How does it work as a musical composition? Is the story easy to follow? And how good is this album at enveloping you in its story? Well, get your chaperons ready and some popcorn made with the butter of Satan's dick. Let's not waste much more time and let's get straight into the story of Dante's Inferno. So we start off with the sounds of hell, just like in the real poem. What? Did I read the Wikipedia summary wrong? Isn't he in the woods right now? Is there symbolism here and it's just going right over my head? Again, I didn't read the poem, so I don't know. It is entirely possible that I am missing the point of this opening like Doug Walker missed the point of not being an asshole. So if that is the case, I am so sorry. Anyways, after the sorely rejected Diablo soundtrack, we get into the story proper, with vocalist Max Morelli setting the tone for what kind of metal we're actually in for. I mean, yeah, okay, the orchestra kind of did that, but this is very clearly 80s metal inspired. Good thing too, can you imagine if this album was written by guys who only listen to Cannibal Corpse? Oof, that would not work as well. But of course, he's not the only highlight thus far. The choir in particular is giving me a lot of goosebumps when they come in to sing the title of the song. So yeah, in the midway of life's journey, as the opening is a great place to start this album, giving you enough information to work with to begin the story, and lots of great heavy music to get you in the mood for what's to come. It's heavy, it's dark, it's gothic, and I'm hyped for what is to come. Next up, we got the Mission of Virgil.
Another day goes by.
Which is the album's ballad. On one hand, I feel like having the album's ballad so early on in the album is very odd, right? I can't be the only one who thinks that, right? But on the other hand, with Inferno, where else is it gonna go? The 8th circle? So okay, the song is talking about Virgil, the ancient Roman poet, talking to Dante about the mission to journey through to paradise, but first having to descend to hell. And admittedly, this is an oddly placed song. It's not poorly written by any means, though I will admit the change up about halfway through sure as shit felt more jarring than when I found out my crush was into Later Day Disturbed, but overall, the song is a nice ballad that feels inspirational and hopeful. Which is a weird tone for Dante's Inferno. It's entirely possible that I didn't read the Wikipedia summary right or misinterpreted some of the summaries from people who actually read the poem, but isn't it known by this point that Dante has his own sins that he's worried about by this point as well? He's also a bit frightened from waking up in the woods, no idea how he got there, saw some weird shit on the mountain that kept him in the woods, and now he's talking to a dead poet who wants to give him the grand tour of the underworld. Did I get that right? Right? Okay, so then what's with this uplifting ballad before descending to the depths of Satan's orgy dungeon? Look, the song isn't bad. The vocals from Chiara Menese are very beautiful and suit the song well, and on its own, it's a very well-written song. But here, it just kind of stops the story before it gets going. If that was intentional, well then props for storytelling, but it doesn't really make its addition any more fitting. Maybe if it had darker undertones in the chord voicings, maybe it would have fit better in the album, but again, nothing horrible at all. What's next? And you wonder why I was thrown off by the ballad. Oh my goodness, we go from an epic rock ballad to a demon chants in the macabre opera. Oh, baby Jesus, help me. But, and this is something I feel like will come back later, the arrangement and sound design is amazing. I have no clue what this choir is saying, albeit for the last line, but I can just imagine what is happening visually based on how it sounds. Now, Gate of Hell is where we truly start this story. And again, much like in the midway of life's journey, the instrumentation is epic and intense, although now, obviously, the tone has become a bit more sinister, twisted, and sadistic, given the fact that we're about to enter the Gate of Hell. Also, we now have the vocals of Mark Bowles, who you may recognize from Yngwie Malmsteen, playing the part of Virgil. It's hard to tell if he was on the past two tracks, but he's way more noticeable here. Granted, not in any way you can tell where in a song he is. He and Max have very similar timbres, but you can tell there's two of them just based on the fact that only one of them sounds like Rob Halford if he grew up in Florence. And I'll be damned if I know which one it is. Jesus Christ. Also, get a load of this. You can't have a metal album recounting the story of Dante's Inferno without a guitar solo performed by Satan himself. I think there's not much else to talk about unless I'm forgetting something.
Woe to you, shades of death.
Who the fuck? So this man, who I can only assume used to work for Halls, is Karen, played by Ben Jackson of Crimson Glory, who is the ferryman at the Gate of Hell. And this is something you'll notice about this album that makes it very prog. The story is very important. While you do have kick-ass music throughout, the story must be told, and so as a result, characters will come in. Hence why we had another person playing Virgil, and why there's a cast of singers and voice actors credited throughout the album. But okay, we get into the borderland next. And while not much has changed in terms of the sonic qualities and the metal instrumentation, the opening of this song really paints the picture that we're now in hell. Like I said before, the sound design is amazing. Before, it was very clear that we were about to enter through the gate, or at least we're very close to hell. But now, we're in hell proper, and the image is very striking with the ominous choir, the deep chimes, the subtle brasswork, and of course the thunderclap that peppers the scene. People, when you're trying to paint a picture with sound and music alone, take notes. Whoever this dude is a pro. Anyway, let's move on to Whirlwind of Lovers, a song that starts with better voice acting than the last Severn's Rain album. Still salty about that. And this section. Ooh, okay, I really want to talk about this section real quick. Again, sound design and beautifully, carefully crafted composition is taking place here. This section plays to the themes and atmosphere of the second circle, Lost. I'm going to play for you one more time, and I want you to put your headphones on for this one if you haven't already. I want you to tell me in the comments what you are seeing based on what you are hearing and what you are hearing alone. Have you got it? Have you written down the comments? Okay, good. Here's what I see. I see an image of a desolate landscape. Not so much a desert, but a barren world, once full of life, teeming with life, but now filled with nothing but maybe a few lone blades of grass whose orientation and position is never static, never stays the same. It's always moving, always flowing, always dictated by the winds that constantly blow across the flat, dry, and cracked earth. Wouldn't you know it? That describes the second circle perfectly. You see, according to Dante, the second circle, which is lust, is described as a place where the soul can't rest, as they're swayed back and forth by terrible storms, implying that something that seems happy in life and something that brings insurmountable amounts of desire is seen as a howling darkness of helpless discomfort. Yes, I'm reading off Wikipedia for this, blow me. And so the haunting vocals, sad strings, eerie glockenspiel overtop these hurricane-level winds. You can tell a lot of thought went into this. So that's quickly interrupted by the sound of a seafaring Viking about to pillage your bitches and steal your riches, but hey, that's not taken away from the album at all. I still mosh to this. Under Eternal Rain comes on and once again shows off the great composition techniques to paint a visual image of the third circle. Listening to this, I do feel like I'm in a mud bath while a three-headed dog watches. Oddly specific, I know, but then again, so is the entire poem. Let's move on to the next song.
Pape Satan. Pape Satan Alempe.
Interesting tidbit. This phrase in particular, has famously never been properly translated. I don't think it can be either. Typing this into Google Translate doesn't give me anything useful. But I have a robot that is way more advanced and more intelligent than anything Google could ever dream of. Buddy, want to give it a shot?
Translation complete.
Perfect. Let's see what you got.
Pape Satan. Pape Satan Alempe.
Oh. Wow. Okay. I had no idea demons had hobbies like that. Good for them. But yeah, To the Edge of Stygian Lagoon is also a very good song, this time taking place in the fourth circle. And that's all I can really say about it. I'm kind of rushing a little bit now, but that's just because these aren't really giving me much to talk about. They're very good, don't get me wrong, but if I just keep saying sound design and visual painting over and over again, you're probably going to want to feed me to Cerberus back in Circle 3. So how about we just move along to Regnum Date? And this one is a cool song. After the Furies, which are just demons who happen to be furries, speak some Italian curses at me, we get the entire song sung by the choir. Seriously, I don't think there are any metal vocals here. It's all done by the choir, which makes sense since reading the lyrics, the only thing that really happens in the song is our main characters are granted access to the city of Dees by the Deus Ex Machina angel with a wand. So not much happens, really. Next up though, Burning Graves, Heresy, the 6th Circle of Hell.
Hey, whichever of you maggots is showing David Ellison's News to Souls, stop it! We have guests, so shut that shit down!
Again, not much to say here, other than I am fully convinced by this point these guys actually hired Halford to sing on this album with an Italian accent. There's no fucking way, it's too similar not to be him. Like, yeah, okay, I know it's not Rob, but after I mention that, I can't unhear it now. Let's move on though. Last 3 songs for Disc 1, and they all cover the 7th Circle of Hell, Violence. And we start by crossing Plegathon, the Bloody River. You know, this river is really making me want to take a piss right now. I wonder what happens if I release into the river. Let's see. Oh, so this is what being in Brass Against feels like. Oh. So after Jacob's Ladder opens up, the vocalist comes back to sing about where we are now, though with a bit of a twist. See if you can spot it. Dude, Dante, you have no idea how much you have confused the shit out of Virgil.
The fuck are you talking about? Greed was 3 circles ago. Quit futzing around, let's go so I can piss off the Minotaur.
The what? But for real, the sound design once again becomes really great. Around 120, the sound of the river comes into full view, along with the sound of arrows flying to keep the violent psychopaths in the river. Not to mention, of course, the sounds of an angry bull for the Minotaur and horse hooves for the centaurs. Musically, this is also a really fun listen. During the verse, Francesco Micheli on the drums is giving us a sort of disco-style beat, while Stefano Antonelli on bass is doing a sweet gallop on that high E. Once again, Oscar is killing it with his guitar work during the solo, and Filippo Martignano, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, on the keys is no slouch either. His church organ tones fill the void in the background nicely alongside the orchestration and choirs, and many of the same things can be said about the next song, Forest of Suicides. Yep, suicides, as in plural. Holy shit, if you didn't think this story was dark with a blood river, being constantly burned alive in your own graves, and being unable to stand up in a pile of mud-covered bodies, you're in for a real treat with this one. Once again, sound design and composition at its finest. Just listen to that opening. That is fucking talent right there. It's amazing how you can take a part of the story that depicts those who commit suicide in such a disdained fashion in terms of their punishment, but adapts it to a more modern perspective, mixing the two ideologies in a way that creates something that sounds twisted and corrupted in terms of how they're punished, yet sad and sorrowful from the perspective of the protagonist. It's a powerful opening. But you know, they can't help but make it creepy. In fairness, I'd be doing the exact same thing if it meant deterring Logan Paul from entering. Bad things tend to happen when he comes in these woods. Passing through this ring, we get to the next ring, still in the 7th circle, Firestorm. I'm a broken record, I know, but seriously, how can I not gush about the sound design here? It takes a lot of talent to effectively create the illusion of rain in the form of fire across a sandy landscape that people are also walking on. That is too specific to just grab random sound effects on freesounds.org and slap them together. That takes a keen ear and lots of recording. Also, something I forgot to mention with this aspect, their use of the stereo field with the sound design is amazing. This is very clearly not meant to be used with phone speakers. This is meant for either studio quality monitors or a nice pair of headphones. Headphones especially I would recommend for this. Holy shit. Do not do this album a disservice by listening to these on dumb as shit AirPods either. Oh my god, do not, no, don't do it. You look stupid in them anyways. Grab a set of headphones and enjoy it properly, you dingus. Anyways, so the music starts up and...
I must join that mosh pit.
How do I get there again? Violence against God, art, and nature. Alright, time to commit blasphemy. Back in a bit. I'm joining that mosh pit. Metal! Yeah, this is arguably the heaviest song on this album thus far. I'm trying very hard to come up with anything negative about the song, but with great sound design, great composition, and expertly played performances, it's very hard to come up with anything negative. Though I will say, I think they know more about people than they're leading on. Wait, Pat Sajak is down there too? What the fuck are you doing on that show, man? Holy shit!
Do you want to host a family-friendly game show where we actively tell God to taste the saltiest inch of our collective cocks? Then, come join the family and become the new host of Wheel of Fortune!
This show is not responsible if you find yourself in a desert of raining fire. Please consult your local demons before signing up. Okay, gotta stop right here because we have reached the end of Disc 1, and we need to get into Disc 2, but fuck, I need a breather first. This was a lot to go through for one disc, and we still have so much more to go. So here's what's gonna happen here. I'm going to end this episode here, but we will pick this up with Disc 2 and my final thoughts on the entire double EP in part 2 of this review. So if you want to find out when that comes out, make sure to subscribe and ring the fucking bell. That video should be coming out probably within the next couple of days after this upload. If it is already up by the time you're watching this, click on the YouTube card or click on the end screen to go watch part 2. But other than that, I will see you in the Firestorm Mosh Pit next time. Have a good night.